You ready? Yeah. We have to get started. Okay, I think we're going to get started. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad the rain has stayed away. So, exactly, SWAT-struck weather has carried over into Senior Showcase. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Professor Jill Gladstein. I'm Director of the Writing and Speaking Associates program here at Swarthmore. And I'm happy to introduce the second annual Senior Showcase, which is becoming one of my favorite events of the year. And I can tell you that for three reasons. The first being that, which you're going to hear in a minute, is I think it highlights the work that the students do here at Swarthmore, and it gives us really a platform to show the intellectual rigor that our students go through. And I'm going to let the presentations speak for themselves, but you're going to see the interesting questions and processes that these 10 seniors have gone through, some for 2 years, some for shorter than that, but they had to get it all down into 3 minutes. So you're going to see that soon. The second reason why this is becoming my favorite event is the idea that it breaks some silos down between departments. So a lot of departments have end of semester presentations for their own majors, and which is great and fabulous. But this is one of the few spaces where we actually hear about work across disciplines. And so you're going to hear a wide range from biology to art, about really hearing about what students are doing in and out of the classroom. And the third reason is the process that the students go through to prepare for these 3-minute presentations. So they're going to make it seem really easy. They're going to tell you it was not very easy. So they were nominated by a faculty member or a peer, they applied, and when they applied and were accepted, made the commitment that they would attend a 90-minute workshop and work with speaking associates at least twice. And so when they meet with a speaking associate, there actually are 2 speaking associates. One is one of our relatively new speaking associates, and another is a more veteran one. And they meet and they talk about how are you going to get 2 years, 1 year, 1 semester's work down to 3 minutes to an audience of varying degrees of expertise, of interest. And so what happens is they meet, and after the SPAs meet with the student, they have a requirement on their end. They're required to provide a reflection. And that is one thing that shows me what's been going on. And so what I want to do is share, sort of pull back the curtain a little bit, and share with you a couple of these reflections from meeting with one student, just to give you a taste of the preparation that the students have gone through, and then I'm going to get out of the way and let them share their wonderful projects. So in this case, there are 2 SPAs, and so the first SPA says after the first meeting, the SPA's thesis is super interesting, and it was a fun conference. I found, as I find with a lot of these conferences, that occasionally she would start talking as if we were all in her thesis, as much as she is. A natural thing to happen for someone who has been researching it for months without sharing it with others, at least in a formal context. So a lot of the conference involved unwinding that and making sure she prefaced her presentation clearly enough with the framework in which she is looking at the issues, so that the audience, that being you, doesn't get lost. Then we talked about a more general outline for her presentation. She was particularly concerned with the way into the presentation. Should she tell a joke, a story, an anecdote that would lighten the mood, draw people in? For the next time, I think she'll have a pretty good presentation ready, and we'll probably spend most of the time practicing and making sure it fits in 3 minutes. The second SPA said, the 3 of us mostly just talked about her research, bouncing potential ideas off of each other. We would occasionally point out something in her research that we found particularly interesting or wanted to know more about, which helped with figuring out what should be included and what could be left out. At the end of the conference, we outlined a potential way that she could try to set up the speech before practicing it with us next week. The conference felt very comfortable the whole time. We were genuinely interested in her research, and once she realized that, she started out by saying, "It's boring." I think we were all able to communicate really well. So a week goes by, the students working on it, and now we have a reflection from the second conference. We met with the SPA for the second time. She came with a prepared 2-minute and 45-second presentation, and the original idea was just to figure out how to conclude. After talking for a bit about the findings, however, it became clear that a better course of action was to share only part of her findings. Sharing all of them, or the 2 main findings that we decided on last meeting, and doing it convincingly seemed to take too much time. A lot of it was not self-explanatory, and convincing the audience of their viability in addition to defining terms didn't seem realistic. So although the final product won't encompass all of her findings, something we all agreed was impossible from the beginning, it will share one finding much more convincingly than a presentation that tried to stuff everything in. She is a good speaker and came prepared, so I'm confident that the final presentation will go well. And so I share this as a way to show you all the decisions that these students had to make in order to get their work down into the 3 minutes and 1 slide that you're about to take. And so before I do that, I just want to thank the students for all the time that they have put into these presentations, as well as the SPAs who worked with them over the weeks to prepare. And with that, I'm going to introduce the 2017 Senior Showcase presentations.